Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and Magic the Gathering Foundations is officially out on Arena. This is the big one, a super exciting set, a core set that's going to last for 5 years in Standard. So this is a great one to collect. It's going to be legal in every format on Arena for quite some time to come. So we're going to be playing a sealed event of the brand new format today. That's where we open 6 booster packs and build a deck out of those cards. We're competing to try to get 7 wins before 3 losses to get the max prize out here, which is a bunch of gems and some more packs. So without further ado, I'm super excited to play the brand new set. So let's just bust open these packs and see what we get to play with today. All right, and we have opened 7 rares, very possible with play boosters out now. Very similar to set boosters, you can open up like 1 to 3 rares in all of these packs. We got Liliana Dreadhorde General, fantastic reprint for more of the Spark, so that's going to really incentivize us to play a black deck here. Excellent abilities on this card. Even just spitting out the zombies and drawing cards when they die is already great, but you also have some flexibility there, being able to make each player sack 2 creatures. If your opponent's creatures are better than yours on average, that ability is great. And of course, as always, on these big high mana value planeswalkers, you've got a ultimate that very much wins the game. Your opponent has to sacrifice down to like 1 land and 1 creature. Super, super powerful card. So super excited about the Liliana. But we've also got Elvish Archdruid. If we open a bunch of elves, this can give us a ton of mana, which is quite fun. The Mossborn Hydra is another green rare here. It's one of the new ones that's kind of exciting. It's a 3 mana 1/1 with trample up front, but every time you play a land, you double its power and toughness permanently. You double all the +1/+1 counters on it. So that gets exponentially larger. And if you know anything about exponentiality, that's going to get out of hand really, really quickly. Once you've done this only like 3 times, it's going to turn into a 8/8 creature because you go 2 and then 4 and then 8. So yeah, turn 6, 8/8 trample for only 3 mana up front. Pretty insane card even without other +1/+1 counters. And if you do have other +1/+1 counters, then you can load even more onto this thing and get it to get bigger faster. We've also got Ashroot Animist towards Gruul, that is red-green. A 4 mana 4/4 trample. Whenever it attacks, another target creature you control gains trample and +X/+X until end of turn, where X is this creature's power. Well, that is pretty nasty in sealed. It's going to be super hard for your opponent to stop the damage because you're sending 2 of your threats in with trample and getting 8 total damage off of the Animist alone, because that's a 4 power trampler giving something else plus 4 power and trample. That's super gross. Kellen's also gross, so maybe some kind of red-green deck here with these multiple green and red rares. Kellen is kind of a new figure of destiny or level up style creature where you get to keep investing more mana into this to turn it into a much bigger creature than just a 1 mana 2/1. It can eventually become a 3/2 double strike, which is pretty nasty. We've also got Scrawling Crawler that can theoretically fit into any deck. I guess it's fine in any deck. I don't love the idea of giving your opponent extra card draw, but you get just as much extra card draw as them, and you ping them when they're drawing those cards, so it's probably perfectly fine. I don't think it's super great or anything, but you could probably shove it in anything and be fine with it. And Celestial Armor, another new rare from Foundations. This is just a big combat trick that leaves an equipment behind. So 3 mana for Hexproof, Indestructible, +2/+0, and flying at instant speed. And then you can move around that +2/+0 flying part for 4 mana later on in the game. So a lot of really good rares here, honestly, all over the board. But there's a lot clumping up in red and green, so if those colors are pretty deep, we get to play a ton of our best cards in that color pair, so that could be pretty sweet. And then, of course, my favorite rare has got to be Liliana Dreadhorde General, so we'd like to try to fit that in our deck as well. But we'll see what's going on in our commons and uncommons and see what directions we can really take it here. So starting off with our colorless cards and multicolored cards, that's a great place to see how much mana fixing you have that you can shove into any deck. That way, even if you're not playing green, maybe you can do some splashing. So we do have like Gold Vein Pick here that can provide us with treasure tokens to splash in some off-color rares. We've got the Heraldic Banner, which can provide us with whatever color that we choose when we play it. This one's a little bit awkward to splash cards in with. Splashing, of course, just means if you want to play just a couple cards of one color, like you want to be a green-black deck with like 8 green cards, 8 black cards, and then like 3 red cards off the splash. This is awkward for splashing because obviously you'd like to choose one of your main colors to tap for with this thing so that you're also buffing your creatures. Because if you're just splashing in a couple red cards, you're not going to be buffing up any creatures with the first part of this ability. So not the greatest fixing off that, but we do have Gold Vein Pick, and then Campus Guide is more filler fixing if we want to play one of our splash basics. And of course, Evolving Wilds, the absolute classic, really easy way to help splash things in as well. So decent fixing. Three ways to splash in whatever color that we play. 4 if we count the banner, but again, that's a little more awkward. And I like looking at the multicolored cards as well, because multicolored uncommons can often be just about as strong as like a monocolored rare. So that can be good reasons to head towards a specific color pair like Tachiova here. Incredible card. If she isn't dealt with, she's going to make sure you're drawing like twice as many cards as your opponent, because you can easily play a land every turn when you're drawing 2 cards a turn, thanks to 1 from your draw step and 1 from Tachiova. So Tachiova is excellent, and that's our only multicolored card, so pretty simple there. We'll just keep green-blue in mind as somewhere that we have a great uncommon. All right, cool stuff. Good fixing, a good green-blue uncommon. Let's check out all of our colors individually now. Pick the best few, ideally somewhere with green and red, or maybe even green and blue. We had multiple good green rares, and we have Tachiova as well. Or if we can do something in black, that'd be great as well. But starting off, looks like we have a really high quantity of white spells. Yeah, while we may only have the 1 white rare with Celestial Armor, there's a lot going for white as a color. We have Banishing Light for an excellent removal spell. We have tons of combat tricks with 3 Fleeting Flights, a Celestial Armor, and a Twin Blade Blessing. I guess this is... well, yeah, it has flash, so it is sort of a combat trick, but also sort of like a finisher kind of aura, making your biggest creature a double striker. So oops. All right, I'll put that back in the deck if I do play white. But we've got a lot of flexibility going on in white, and of course a very high quantity of cards, and the creature curve is excellent for a more aggressive deck. Sealed tends to be a little bit slower than Draft. In Draft, when you're picking a card out of every booster pack, as you're passing things around, you can really tune your mana curve to be where you want it to be, and play like a lot of really cheap creatures and try to play a really aggressive deck. But in Sealed, you're at the mercy of whatever you open, so there's going to be a lot of players splashing around for a third color, playing some slower decks don't really start off till maybe even turn 3 sometimes. So getting a really streamlined aggressive deck in Sealed can be great, and this deck looks really good at it. Because again, we have 2 great aggressive 1-mana creatures, we have 4 2-mana creatures. Not that the Heir Apparent is particularly exciting. 3 3-mana creatures, and these 4 drops look very good here. This is essentially a 4-mana 3/1 lifelinker, and you get to return a non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield when you play this. So really, really good at 4 mana when you have like 6 2-mana or less creatures in the deck. So I really, really like the idea of an aggressive white deck here, and that might be the direction to go. But we are going to do our due diligence here and check out all of the colors. What do we have in blue? Certainly a much less efficient curve. It's also kind of awkward with not a lot of non-creature spells here, not a lot of variety in what we can do. 1 counter spell, 1 draw spell, and a lot of these creatures are quite filler. They're just really good defensive cards like the Turtle and the Wall. Blue definitely seems like a much less exciting color, and there's not really any bomb power here. We didn't get any blue rares. There's a pretty nasty uncommon here, though, with this gigantic grappling kraken. But I think blue looks considerably weaker than white, and hopefully considerably weaker than like our green and our red and our black, because those were colors that we had great rares in. So checking out our black, we've got Stab and 3 Bake into a Pie, so we have excellent removal in this color. We also have Liliana at the very top of our curve as a fantastic finisher, so huge fan of that. And white does have some cards that care about life gain, so the fact that our black creatures here are some life gain creatures can be pretty impressive. 2 Vengeful Blood Witches, a Sanguine Siphoner, so 3 like life gain related black cards. Seems pretty good. And then the Hungry Ghoul for a sacrifice card. So black seems like a pretty decent support color. It's not adding a bunch of creatures to our deck, which could be a little bit awkward because our white really wants to be a super creature heavy deck. But it's adding great removal and an excellent finisher. So looks like it could pair pretty decently with the white regardless. So moving on to red now though. Red's another color with a great cheap curve. All of our creatures cost 3 mana or less, and we have excellent removal here when it comes to being really efficient, being really cheap. Burst Lightning at only 1 mana to clear out a 2 toughness creature. Abrade at only 2 mana, so that's 3 cheap removal spells. And Burst Lightning is particularly fantastic because it's flexible. If you flood out or if you top deck it in the late game, you can always kick it later for 4 damage to any target, so it can clear out a lot bigger creatures later as well. Burst Lightning is probably going to be one of the best removal spells in the format for that flexibility. You get the raw efficiency of the 1 mana 2 damage while also having the flexibility to maybe kill something bigger later, or even shoot your opponent in the face for 4. Sometimes that'll end a game, so really, really like having 2 copies of Burst Lightning and an Abrade, which also has flexibility. Sometimes your opponent has a great artifact. And of course, because we're in red, we have a ton of great aggressive creatures. That's just what red does in general in most formats. So Boros aggro, 1 rare out of each color, a Kellen, and that white equipment could absolutely be a place to be. But let's see our last but hopefully not least powerful color here. We've got green. Broken Wings, probably not going to be an exciting main deck, and Blanchwood Armor I wouldn't really play unless I'm in draft and I manage to go like mono green, where it is pretty exciting. But outside of that, everything else looks pretty playable here. And we've got, of course, the very nice Elvish Archdruid with the 4 elves, Dwynen, Elvish Regrower, the Archdruid, and Llanowar Elves. It might be a little bit low on elves for it, but we also have the Elfsworn Giant, which isn't an elf itself, but it gives us an elf every time we play a land, and of course by playing Terramorphic Expanse, we can landfall twice in 1 turn, so we can play the Terramorphic, or I guess it's Evolving Wilds in this format. We can play Evolving Wilds, crack it, and get another elf, which is pretty exciting. Quake Strider Ceratops is a very fun card at the top of the curve for any green deck. Big 6 mana 12/8. Don't mind if I do. Green is another perfectly solid place to be. I think we want to go red-white or green-white here, because I just, again, really love that curve. That is wild for sealed. Plus we've got removal, just a little bit of everything you want there, plus our good white rare. So we'll just take a peek at what green-white would look like in general, and a peek at what red-white would look like in general. I think probably rather go red-white here, because I'm probably going to just ditch some of the elf stuff. I think it's a little bit light on elves to really play cards that aren't particularly good without other elves on board, or don't really do anything without other elves on board. So this is 49 cards. Probably cut the Broken Wings as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not a ton of power 4 greater creatures, so that's 6 cuts. 7, 8, 9, probably cut all that. And the creature count, we're cutting 2, so that creature count's going to go to 18 creatures. That is a very creature-heavy deck. So I guess we probably cut 1 more creature and put like 1 of the fleeting flights back in or something. But yeah, I mean, the curve is excellent here. We get access to Llanowar Elves, which can drop a 3-drop on turn 2, which is always exciting. 4 drops on turn 3. The ramp from Llanowar Elves is pretty exciting. So the green-white deck does look really good. Do we have any +1/+1 counter cards out of white to go with our Mossborn Hydra? I suppose we could play 2 copies of Fleeting Flight over the 1 copy of Giant Growth here, because we do need to put 1 more non-creature into the deck, and Fleeting Flight, very similar to Giant Growth, it's going to be a combat tricky sort of thing, but now it would be a combat trick that works with Mossborn Hydra to maybe give us extra value there, which can be quite fun. Yeah, I like this a lot. Green-white is certainly a spot we can be. What about red-white? What about some Boros Beats? We need to cut 7 cards out of this deck. Not super high on Thrill of Possibility. Goblin Surprise seems decent. For only 3 mana, the flexibility of that seems fine. 3 mana for 2 1/1s or +2/+0 to the whole board. In a deck that's running a very high creature count, that can be pretty good, so I don't mind that. Cutting 7 cards total. Definitely not the Celestial Armor. These other red spells are really, really good. I guess we probably have to cut something here, maybe a Twin Blade or a Goblin Surprise, some combination of those. As for the creatures, we're at 4, 9, 15, 16, 17. Perfect. 17 creatures. 15 to 17 is the general count for a very aggressive deck in Draft and Sealed, so I could still cut like 1 or 2 more creatures if we want. The Heir Apparent is obviously never going to trigger, but just a 2-mana 2/2 on curve, if you have this many 1, 2, and 3 mana cards, is still going to be a good card in the deck just to more consistently curve out and play a creature every turn and keep the pressure on your opponent. Yeah, I guess we've got 8 cards over here in the in the cuts, so we would cut most of these, play a couple Goblin Surprises, cut a land, and then all these. Seems fun. This is like the super hyper aggro build that we could have out of the sealed pool, where we keep it really, really low to the ground and really try to outrace people. The double burst lightning and the abrade to clear blockers out of the way also helps do that quite a bit. So that is pretty dang exciting to me. And then the green deck is definitely a little bit more mid-rangey. It's got more of a late game available to it. If we don't manage to just steamroll our opponent aggressively, we're going to be better at still competing in the late game and actually casting some big cards like the Elfsworn Giant and the Quake Strider Ceratops. So I think the green-white deck seems like it'll be a little bit more consistent. It has like an average decent matchup against a wide variety of decks, whereas that Boros deck is going to have an insanely good matchup when it draws well and when it's against slower decks. But if it draws a little poorly and stumbles a little bit, it has very little late game, and any deck that can stabilize against it and then have some big spells could definitely get out from under it. So really depends here if we want to go for a consistently decent deck or a little bit more high variance, sometimes insanely good, but sometimes runs out of gas Boros build. I think I just want to go Boros. I like just getting aggressive for our first spot in the format, letting our opponents do kind of the cheeky, funny stuff and see how well it works for them. Let's see what kind of nonsense they're building. Just play it real simple for today. I mean, when we open up white cards like this, like, I think aggro is the place to be. I'm going to go Boros aggro here, and we're going to cut all those cards that I mentioned cutting. We're probably going to put a Gold Vein pick in here, actually. I think this is decent in pretty much any deck, but particularly ones that have a lot of good cheap creatures. The extra treasure tokens obviously don't matter too much in terms of mana fixing for a 2-color deck, but they can still let you dump your hand out quicker, which is still very good, even in aggro. What is this fishing pole? I don't think this is good, is it? So 1 mana, tap this, put a bait counter on the pole, and then when the creature becomes untapped, you remove a bait counter and get a fish. I guess 1 mana tap, make a fish every turn on the equipped creature. I mean, it's really cute, but it feels slow for aggro. It's probably better for a deck that's trying to grind out the long game. You know what? The banner might not be bad in here with the amount of white creatures that we have. Play the Heraldic Banner. I don't think we splash in a more aggressive deck because stumbling on mana at all is going to be a really bad time. If we ever draw the Forest, like splashing for this Animist, we will be very unhappy when it's in like our opening hand. And we don't curve out as consistently because we also have like a really good double white card, a really good double red card. I'm fine sticking it just 2 color. I think the split between red and white creatures is even enough to be not that excited about the banner because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red creatures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 white creatures. Maybe banner on white could be decent, but I think I'd rather just be slamming down creatures still. At the 3 mana, I'm going to drop the banner here. And that's 16 lands. Here's our non-creature spells. It's also hard to hit to fit the banner in when our other non-creature spells are so great. All this efficient removal, and then 2 really good equipment between Celestial Armor and the Gold Vein pick. Maybe we could go banner over Gold Vein pick. That would be the one maybe swap out I could see in this deck. If you are a banner fan or more of a banner fan than me, that is probably the last change to the deck. I suppose we do have Evolving Wilds, Gold Vein pick, 1 forest. Would be 3 green sources towards our 4 mana 4/4 trample that buffs somebody else. So that's another thing you could do if you want to add a little bit of power to the deck, but make the mana base a little bit less consistent. It's right on that edge there. So yeah, those are the two different adjustments I think you can make to this deck that would be very reasonable. And there's an argument either way, you know, towards consistency or towards power. I'm just going to go for raw consistency here. So that's going to be the deck list for today. Some nice, streamlined, simple Boros aggro to help us get a little grasp on the format, learn some of the cards before we try to do anything too complex of an archetype. Let's just play some creatures, curve out, and attack. That is a great spot to be when you have this much efficient removal and this many cheap creatures. So without further ado, let's hop right into the gameplay and see how it does. Alright, here we are for game one. The mana's a little bit awkward here, but with the Burst Lightning and the Abrade to stop early aggro from our opponent and the Gold Vein pick to slap onto a flyer, I think we've still got a good game plan here. If our opponent is more aggressive than us, we can go ahead and make sure we survive with these two spells. And as long as they don't kill this Whelp, that gives us our access to white mana. We just need to draw any land in the whole deck, and we can pick onto a flyer here. A great consistent way to get treasure tokens. Alright, we did draw land here. I am going to want to kill this Horn Beetle, ideally before they play a power 4 or greater creature, that way I can Burst Lightning it instead of Abrade it. But it's going to be much more efficient here to just play the Whelp and get ready to throw the pick onto it next turn so we can get those treasure tokens flowing as soon as possible, get our mana back out of it. But there's the Felling Blow. A little bit rough, but we have the Abrade for the Horn Beetle here before it gets any worse. Here I could Cathar Commando it instead, but I can also just Healer's Hawk, put the pick on the Hawk. I think I'm just going to do that here. Still just getting the pick onto a flyer to make it much more likely we get our treasures. Not that it matters too much at this point. We're almost out of spells in hand, but the 5th mana is still going to be important. That way we get to kick this Burst Lightning and actually clear out a 4 toughness creature later. Our opponent is a green deck, and that could be a problem for us. The only removal we really have for their massive threats is Banishing Light, which exiles any permanents. And they are really ramping with a Solemn Simulacrum here, even hitting a splash mana. They grab a Swamp there. So they've got 4 colors, green, white, red, and black. So I expect to see a lot of rares here, and that could be a problem for us. But we've got a lot of flying threats, so if we can keep the skies clear, we can still just try to race them in the sky. If you've never played against Solemn, you've probably not played a lot of Commander. This is just a really good enter effect to grab whatever land you need, and when it dies, you draw a card. So we're basically just don't want to kill that thing. We can take 2 a turn, we're gaining 2 a turn. Just let the Solemn sit here. And yeah, that's good, because that means we didn't trigger their Morbid card here to give them any +1/+1 counters. So here's our Cathar Commando that we can attack in. It's threatening to trade with the 4/3, which does not have a death trigger, so that's a fine trade. Yeah, if they don't have a combat trick here, this is going to be great. Even if they do have a combat trick, even just trading into a trick here is fine. Yeah, I can't pay for the ward, so sure, you trade for a trick. I could sack Commando, kill Simulacrum, let them draw a card here, since it's about to die for nothing anyway. But then we do let them draw the card. I think we can let them draw the card here, since this is about to just get put into our graveyard without doing anything. We'll give you a card and not take any solemn damage. Evolving Wilds, yeah, full 5-color sealed deck from our opponent. I'm really, really nervous here, because again, all they need is to draw like one of their powerful rares, and they're probably playing every rare in their sealed pool. This hand crumples to most rares, I would imagine. I guess a lot of them could be small enough to die to a Burst Lightning. We might be okay. Nice little 2-mana 4/2 here, one of the cool new cards from Foundations. Have to make sure that creatures keep dying, but if they do, 4/2 for 2 is an insane rate. I think this will be particularly good in green-red decks in draft, because there's multiple cards like that Nessian Hornbeetle that we saw that care about power 4 or greater creatures. So being able to have a power 4 creature on your board for only 2 mana, even if it's just sitting there tapped, is really nice. They might be flooding out here. They have not cast a spell in a little while, which is pretty good for us. Goblin Negotiation. Deal X to target creature. Create a number of 1/1 goblins equal to the excess damage dealt. Do I have to burst lightning my own Healer's Hawk? So essentially I can turn this burst lightning into kill 4 goblins. I don't think I do that, because I'm going to hit them for 3 a turn off of Dazzling Angel. So I put them to 8, then I put them to 5. Burst Lightning being able to shoot them in the face for 4 is such a big deal. I mean, I guess Cerberus trades into Prowler here. You know what? I will burst. They're 4 goblins. And the reason this works is because now the Goblin Negotiation doesn't have a legal target anymore, so it just fizzles. Alright. A little bit sad to draw the Evolving Wilds here. Oh, what a good trade for Cerberus. Our 2-drop traded way up. The only reason I'm sad to draw the Evolving Wilds is I have so much mana here that I'm definitely fine on mana. So if I drew any like basic, I could at least sit here and just like bluff it. But drawing Evolving Wilds means I want to play it and make sure I thin my deck out. I don't top deck this Plains in particular. Make it more likely to hit a non-land card. So I don't get to bluff by drawing that. Sunblessed Healer's quite the draw. There's no haste creatures in grave, so we just slam. And we're picking up a flyer for sure, so Healer's Hawk it is. I guess I could pick up the Cerberus. It's not terrible. But we're just going to take flyers. Coming out Healer's Hawk. You know, I have basically infinite mana. Let's actually put this on the healer. So if they attack in and we trade on blocks, we get a bunch of life gain here. Or we're threatening to. I don't think I'm trading on blocks, though. Yeah, there's the concession from our opponent. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter where we put the equipment, but as long as it's on an untapped creature, we're good. So, alright. Scary game there. Our opponent had almost every color, but they did not draw any of their rares. Well, they hit a Solemn Simulacrum, but again, I imagine with this many different colors among their mana base, they were probably playing almost every rare in the sealed pool, so we were lucky to dodge most of them and only run up against the Solemn there. Finish things off with some nice flying damage. The Gold Vein pick, huge performer in that game, giving us all that extra damage to speed up the clock, give them a little bit less turns to draw those rares. We are 1-0 heading into game 2. Alright, here we are on the play for game 2. This is quite the hand. A 1-mana 2/1 thanks to Kellen into a 2-mana 4/2 from the Slumbering Cerberus. We'll need to make sure some creatures die at some point, but again, that's still an exciting rate. We hit the next white source to have double white for Dauntless Veteran. This is a really threatening curve for sealed. Our opponent Evolving Wilds into green mana. Green-blue. There's Gnarlid Colony, just a 2/2 here. I think a trade for Cerberus is super fine, because otherwise it doesn't untap for a while, but Kellen we actually want to like draw the card off of, right? Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that's when we can draw the cards off of it. Right, it's unlikely to actually do that right now. Maybe all the trades are fine, because if they trade with Kellen, then Cerberus untaps. Yeah, no, we actually jam. Can throw our rare into the garbage bin to get a bunch of damage here and keep the pressure on. Goblin Surprise to go with Dauntless Veteran could be spooky. Get some goblins. Erudite Wizard. Good thing I'm attacking with a 3 toughness card and another 3 toughness card. Good attack. Whee! 8 damage. Put them to, what, 6 life already? Ooh, boy. Surprise Goblins. Both of those attack as 2/2s here. And pray that we hit the red source for the Scourge. Then they're just insanely dead. Yeah, there's the concession from our opponent already. That is what happens when you play aggro and sealed sometimes. We are 2-0 heading into game 3. Ooh, We're on the draw here for game 3, but this could still be quite the spicy curve. We definitely have the Healer's Hawk into the Helpful Hunter, the cutest card in our whole deck. So obviously we have to keep it. But if we hit another mountain, then we can play our Scourge turn 3, get some gremlins out there. All right, well, we've got a curve. If I don't hit the mountain, whatever, I'll play a Fire Spitter Whelp and be happy with that as well. Little baby dragon. Guard Cavalry, so they can give their creatures haste now. They have to tap this to do it, but any creature they play, they can just haste out the damage. Pretty spicy. The Sunblessed Healer, much better with that kicker ability, so we're basically treating this as a 4-mana creature. I'm almost never going to play this for 2, unless I'm really stuck on mana or something. So we're just playing the Hunter there. They're going to haste out their trample damage, definitely not blocking there. It looks like we did not hit the red source, so we'll go ahead and play the Scourge instead. Or sorry, the Whelp instead of the Scourge. I don't think I want to Banishing Light this little Trampler. They're a green-red deck. They can play much bigger and scarier creatures soon enough. Any untapped land gives us the ability to play Cerberus and Commando in the same turn, and that's where we're actually going to have some good blockers up. But for now, I think we're taking another hit. The amount of life gain that our deck has means we can be pretty free to take this early damage. We've got the guaranteed 1 life a turn from Healer's Hawk. We got another 3 life gain from Sunblessed Healer whenever that trades off later. All right, another Sunblessed Healer. That is potentially a good draw if I live long enough. So we're playing the Cerberus or Cathar Commando here. So keep the Helpful Hunter back. That trades into Thespian super well, and it doesn't attack into the colony. We're at 14 life here. 2 blockers up against all this. I definitely don't want a Banishing Light again, because they could play like the 12-8 Ceratops or something. And I'm having a horrific time then. You know what? I think this hand is more than strong enough to win the long game that I should probably trade the Fire Spitter Whelp off. It's not the best trade, having to trade a flyer into a 2/2 on the ground, but I think it's worth it when we have double Sunblessed Healer, making it so that we know, like, if we can survive long enough, we will definitely win in the long run. I forgot to play Cathar Commando. Maybe that was the reason to play Cerberus. You can't forget to play Cerberus, because it doesn't have flash. You just play it during your turn. Obviously, I should have Commando traded into Ranger. I was just talking too much. Happens when you're recording. Hello, Celestial Armor. Well, maybe it was actually a good thing. Because now I can Celestial Armor trade. Because we give Indestructible here if they don't Combat Trick. Oh. Giant Growth on the Trampler is going to hurt. This might be lethal here if they have another trick. But yeah, that's painful because now we don't even kill the Ranger anyway. Oh my god, Bulk Up? Giant Growth? Well, I think we lose the game no matter what we do then. We could have tried to trade into the Ranger on that earlier turn with Cathar Commando, and then they would have had the trick. Man, yeah, that went really badly. Just the simple forgetting to flash in the creature before blocks was obviously the huge misplay of the game. We might have still lost, though, because those 2 tricks together are insane. Giant Growth plus Bulk Up, plus the Bulk Up has Flashback if they didn't manage to kill me off of the first cast of it. All right, gross. 2-1 heading into game 4. Play a little more attention here with our flash creatures. Not give our opponents any edge. Okay. I could go Mountain Fanatical Firebrand, but I'm just going to get the tap land out of the way. I don't think pinging for 1 immediately is that high impact. Okay, a Johnny's Pride Mate. I mean, our deck has a ton of good life gain, so I don't think I want to count on them not having good life gain. I'm going to clear that out immediately. Seems like the life gain in this format is pretty consistent. And that's Pride Mate could be super terrifying. Maybe Cathartic Mano. Oh, there's a 2 toughness flasher in the format? Filthy. Wow. I guess we'll get got then. I mean, it's day 1 of the format. Things like that are going to happen. Obviously, in the future, now that we know there's a common 2 toughness flasher out of green of all colors, we will not attack it with a 1/1 against 3 open mana. Alright, Seraph. Inspiring Paladin. Let's draw a card here. Double up spells. Burst Lightning? Sure. Yeah, trades are fine. Because the Cerberus is hard to untap. And if they don't trade, we can just Burst Lightning the Wolf. But I might just hold off on the Burst Lightning, because if we hit a land, then we can kick Burst Lightning on the flyer instead, which does feel better. Yeah, we just play a 2/2, and they already can't attack with the Wolf. Spinner of Souls, disgusting. So whenever one of their creatures dies, they draw another creature out of their deck. They flip cards till they see another creature. That is very, very filthy. And we didn't hit the Burst Lightning mana. Well, things are going real bad here. But the Dazzling Angel to go with Youthful Valkyrie is decent. The Cerberus is during our end step. Oh no, it's each end step, never mind. Some of the Morbid cards care about specifically during your end step, some of them are each end step. So I guess it's nice to double check all those if you have any of them. I might have to Burst Lightning the Spinner of Souls. If I can ever hit that land. This idea of them drawing extra cards here is really bad for me. And now I have the 2/4 to bounce off of the 3/3 every turn. Yes, they just pass. Well, we have time to find the mana we need, so we're doing fine. I'll just play another flyer. There is a board wipe in the set. Day of Judgment, destroy all creatures for 4 mana. I have seen that. I don't love how they have infinite mana up to try to counter this Burst Lightning, so I'm just not gonna toy around with it yet. Ideally, we wait till they tap out for some big creature or something. Make that land a 3/3. They just play a land past the turn again. 6 mana up, they're still not casting creatures. Feels like we have to just do this then. Like if they have 6 mana up and they still don't want to cast creatures. That means they're not going to play in a way to ever tap out of whatever combat trick they're holding here. Ooh, it gives the whole board indestructible. Alright, we might not have killed the Spinner of Souls, but getting rid of that is still huge. I can Sunblessed Healer back our Firebrand to finish off something that's been dealt 2 damage here. Not quite worth it because they have reach. In theory, I can attack with all 3 flyers and then I can bring back the Firebrand and finish off the Spinner of Souls, but they kill 2 of my flyers if I do that. They put the 4/3 on the 2/4 and the 3/3 on the 2/3. Yeah, it's just really bad. Let's just get the Inspiring Paladin. Once I have the Inspiring Paladin out, that actually gives all my +1/+1 countered up creatures first strike. So now that I have that out, I could healer back the Firebrand pre-combat and then attack him with the first striker. That's a thing. And I guess even just attacking with the Inspiring Paladin is fine. But they can double block with their 3/3 and their 4/2, and I would only kill one of the 2. So yeah, that's not great. This is a Surveil trigger. Oh, I guess they didn't gain life yet. They need to play another creature to do that. How do I trade into the Ranger? To lose 2 creatures? Yeah, but I can lose a 1/1 and a 2/1. Spinner of Souls gets a trigger here, which is pretty bad. I would actually prefer if they spend a combat trick than if they just accept this trade. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. We got them to blow another spell. Okay, now they don't have great blocks for Paladin. I do get to kill a flyer. But I guess any trades are just so good with Spinner of Souls. Oh, I feel like that Spinner of Souls is so good. I just pick up the Helpful Hunter and dig for a Braid or my Burst Lightning or my Banishing Light. Just any way to deal with Spinner, and then we can get into combat. Ooh. That's a thing. Flunge it all in and see what happens next turn. No attacks. So they have 6 blockers up because they can activate their Soulstone Sanctuary land. So we hit for like 8 damage. I kill everything. But then they draw a bunch of cards off Spinner and win from there, probably. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, reveal cards from top to reveal creature. Yeah, they would draw 5 cards because we kill the Wolf, the Seraph, the Ranger, the Angel, and the land. But we would also be trading in almost all of those. I don't think I actually get to do my thing. Put them to like 6, but they draw like 5 cards in all of the trades. They don't draw a card from Spinner, but they do from the land and the 4 other creatures. If I draw a second copy of Goblin Surprise, that's very good. Because then I can have one of them make the goblins and the other one finish the opponent off. It's an artifact land? No. It's literally just a land creature. Just trying to see if we have commando flexibility there to blow it up. They had something here. There's a lot of highlighting going on all over the board. Turn all creatures of mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, just get a Johnny's Pridemate? Sure. That triggers the Angel, though, so it's going to be a 3/3. But basically just pretend they top decked a Johnny's Pridemate. It's not the worst. When they cast a rare on us and it's just a Pridemate, it's not awful. All right, we did the thing. If this is resolved, if they don't have their own like Cathar Commando or something, or Hexproof trick, but if we can Goblin Surprise when they don't have the spinner out, that will be incredible. Sure. I'm kind of glad they did that right now instead of us declaring the full attack and then them doing that and surprise spinner's still around. That would have been even worse for us. But now we know they're tapped out of the Sanctuary. So, 6 trades. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 creatures get in. If the smallest creatures get in, we hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus a ping from Whelp. We put them to 2 life here. They're going to have a full hand. But the odds of us killing them in 2 swings are pretty high when they have no board after this and they're at 2 life. We'll still have a couple creatures. They're going to have a full grip of creatures from the Spinner of Souls. But they're hopefully not going to be able to play enough stuff to not die next turn anyway. Because we'll still have some creatures left. They're going to be at only 2 life. And they're not going to have infinite mana for like the 5 creatures they can cast. And there's always the chance that they just let enough creatures through that they just die to Goblin Surprise. Like right now, we're dealing 15 damage. This is 5, 10, 13. Plus the Whelp trigger. This is also still lethal. Oh wait, no, the Youthful Valkyrie isn't blocked either. This is definitely lethal. 5, 10, 13 damage. Yep, they're dead. 13 plus a Whelp trigger. As long as I click the correct ability of Goblin Surprise. Very, very nice turn for us. Just that they had to tap out a Sanctuary to kill the Banishing Light there, even if we didn't kill the Spinner of Souls. Got them to a low enough amount of blockers to make it almost guaranteed lethal. It was going to be really hard for them to block in a way to not die that turn, and even if they did, again, they would have no board left and we'd still have a couple creatures. So that is 3-1 now, heading into game number 5. I don't love this hand. The mana is definitely a problem. We've got a white spell we can't cast, but Cerberus into Goblin Surprise and Burst Lightning, I think those synergize really well towards getting the Cerberus to untap. We have expendable little 1/1s to chump attack or chump block with, and a removal spell to get a Cerberus untap. So I think Cerberus Surprise and Burst Lightning is just good enough together to keep the hand regardless here. I'm just going to play Cerberus here. I'm not going to offer the trade for Helpful Hunter right now, because the nice thing about the Firebrand is with the sack ability, I can clear out the Helpful Hunter at any time. So I'm just going to do that, take that trade whenever the Cerberus is tapped and I need to untap it. That'll just be the opportune time to do so. This is going to be a good Cerberus attack. No. Stab. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, I can't do anything about that. Tragic. No Cerberus untaps then. We go Kellen, Savannah Lines, hold up Burst Lightning. Youthful Valkyrie's got kind of a big booty here. It's too thick. 3 toughness against our 2 power creatures. If they don't have more removal, a double level up on Kellen gets Kellen to that 3/2 double strike stat line, but of course, there is the Banishing Light. Goodbye, Kellen. Well, we have a Cathar Commando and a Banishing Light in our deck to deal with that. Well, We're vibing. We're waiting for land 5 to burst the Valkyrie, and then the floodgates are open. Painful Quandary. That is very annoying. So we cast any spell and we lose 5 life or discard a card. Ooh. That is a hard choice. I don't know what I want a Cathar Commando between these two. This is actually a pretty painful quandary. But obviously getting Kellen back is also huge. Yeah, they managed to jam this quandary out early enough. It's gonna be rough. Ooh, Vampire Nighthawk. Card is insane. One of the best reprints in the set. One of my favorite limited cards of all time. This card is just ridiculous. Flying Death Touch Lifelink. Win any race just by chipping in, plus anytime you get to the defensive, you get to just trade off on blocks and gain too. Card is just astronomically good. I think I have to kill Painful Quandary, which kind of sucks. Okay, there's that Burst Lightning mana, so we clear out Vampire Nighthawk now. All right. Sure. 1/1s are out of the way for the Savannah lines to start getting in. And we're in a top deck war. We're going to stare at each other. Ooh, no, we're not. I top decked first. Unless they have the trick here. Alright, cool. 3 damage a turn. Let's see what you got. Nothing for now. Bad draw is bad. Yeah. That is not a bad trade. Get that removal out of the way. I'm going to keep this land in hand. There is a rat. The burglar rat got reprinted in this format. Oh, that's really bad for me. 2 1/1s off the 1 card plays really well against Goblin Surprise or Fanatical Firebrand. That is a sick draw. I think I just hold on to Surprise then. I don't even want to trade a Goblin off into that. Well, I guess Goblin Surprise trades 1 for 1 into the Sage. Yeah. I trade my full Goblin Surprise for their full Infestation Sage. That's reasonable. Ooh, that's a good draw. That's a good draw. Do you have double trick? Nope. Alright, well that's good for me. And they're just hitting lands. Feels lucky. So this is, we draw the next 2 cards into exile. If they can't kill this. They probably have to chump that. Well, GG, I have no removal left in the deck that's good enough. Oh, I guess that can't block Kellen. This is still a game, but oh my god, that is disgusting. They can't lose the game and we can't win the game unless we find a way to kill that. We don't have a way to kill that left in our deck because we've already played our Banishing Light. That's the only removal spell maybe in our whole sealed pool that can even kill that. No, that's false. We have 3 black removal spells. If we were playing the black version of our deck, we'd have the best matchup against this. Okay, we need to Kellen into something, I guess. God, what do I even... We get them to negative life totals and then hope eventually they block or something. Oh, man. Land. Land. Sick. Gain a little bit of life. There's no flyers there. Wait a second. Non-land permanent. Oh, mana value 2 or less. So I was going to say maybe we can get them to kill our Banishing Light and then we can healer it back. We can't do that. Banishing Light costs 3, so I can't pick up a Banishing Light with that. I have a Braid left in my deck for removal. That's it, as far as I know. Yeah, I don't think I can. I mean, they can't lose the game, and I can't win the game. That's just where we're at now, which is tragic. If this were Platinum Angel, if it were still an artifact creature, Cathar Commando would have been good enough. But alas, it is not. Dauntless Veteran. You're too late to give me the 1 extra point of life gain. I need to live another turn. As are you, so we're dead on board. Literally either of these cards 1 turn sooner and we'd have 1 more turn to try to do something, but I still don't think it matters. Yeah, this card is dumb. Card seems unbeatable for red. For decks where all your removal is red, because it's just damage-based removal and that thing is 6 toughness. Like, if you can't clear it off the board, you literally can't win the game. And we already had to use our Banishing Light, so... Rough. 3 and 2 heading into game 6. Alright, Healer's Hawk and a Helpful Hunter. Might actually go Cerberus first, because we don't need to draw any cards to have good plays on curve. Let's just get damage in. There's the Burst Lightning to go with the Cerberus. Don't mind that. If they play anything that dies to Burst Lightning, I'm just gonna do it because it's so much damage to clear out a blocker, hit for 6 here next turn. Getting the untap. Let's go. Get out of here. Whee! I'm really happy to draw that Whelp here, because I did not really want to have to cast a Sunblessed Healer without kicking it. But if I had nothing but lands in hand, I still would have done that. Try to really make sure they die before they cast anything big. Down to 8 life already. Yeah, the really nice part here about the Cerberus is if they spend any removal spells on any of our other creatures, the Cerberus just untaps, so they kind of have to kill the Cerberus first. If their plan this turn is to cast a Burst Lightning or a Braid or something, some kind of damage-based removal. I mean, Burst Lightning is cheap enough. They could end up casting Burst Lightning on like a 3-drop creature. But Juggernaut is the play. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow. Top deck lethal. Seems good. It's going to be exactly 8 damage. Oh, it's not top deck lethal. No! Well, Commando's still really good with Sunblessed Healer. I probably shouldn't be bluffing this mountain right now, but in theory, I know exactly what I'm spending all 5 mana on next turn. I'm kicking this and then sacking Commando again, if they have anything to kill with it. Yeah, I forgot Cerberus doesn't untap till the end step, so that wasn't lethal. Goblin Negotiation? Yep, so they're just dead, because that just kills one thing. Alright. That is 4 and 2, heading into game 7. Alright, here we are on the play for game a lot. Would I rather turn 2 Cerberus than turn 1 Healer's Hawk? I don't think so. Healer's Hawk is just so consistently good with the life drain throughout the game. And this opens us up to that, to top decking a land and playing a 2-drop turn 2. Ooh, we have the Firebrand to go with Cerberus. These two go together like peanut butter and jelly. I love the combo. Blue-red from our opponent, likely a lot of spells over there. A lot of efficient ways to clear out our board. Let's see what they've got. They aren't playing green, though. So no 3-mana 4/2 flasher or anything. Cool. Paladin plus Firebrand here. I should have pre-combated the Firebrand in case they do have some kind of flash creature I haven't seen yet. Okay, Braid Healer's Hawk is fine. I guess Paladin's bigger, and they're both just as likely to get in. I guess I also could have hasted the Firebrand damage in, but I kind of like having it untapped here. That could be wrong as well. It's still a fresh new format to me, so there's a lot of stuff I'm unsure about. What I should be playing around, or not playing around. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna end up missing out on so many damage with this Firebrand, just because I'm like, well, but you hold up the ability, right? Come on. Just in case. Is there a red board wipe? The red Dargon. If it's dwarfs you control would deal damage to an opponent or permanent deals double instead. So it's a 6/5 flyer, and all of their other burn hits even harder as well. Okay, that's not good for me. We had our goblin buff thing, they'd just be dead this turn, but I think we still try to go for a 2-turn kill. Goodbye, 3/3 first striker. So they should be at like 5 life right now if I had actually just hit them with Firebrand each turn. Alright. So if they do have like a Pyroclasm or something, we lose. But if they don't, we win. And that's the decider of the game here. Pyroclasm is 2 mana, 2 damage to everybody. It's an uncommon. I think it got reprinted here. It was definitely in Duskmourn. But there's probably a similar spell at least, if not exactly Pyroclasm, in this format. Okay, this looks decent. If it's just gonna be like some big 5-mana creature, we could still find lethal through it. They block the 4/2 and the 3/3, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go to 2 life. Oh, it's mana ramp. So have 3 mana up. What does that 3 mana get them? Ruby, have 2 mana up. What does that 2 mana get them? Bushwhack, clear out one of our creatures and have 2 blockers up. Yeah, that lives. That lives. And here's the flood. So I can't do anything this turn. Can play the Savannah Lions and hope to find one of our 2 goblin things. And we lose. Guess I'll die. Hello, Como World Eater. I mean, we still win if we top deck the goblin thing. And there's 2 copies in this deck. And I'm sure there's other lethal draws. Burst Lightning is one of them? I think. The goblin +2/+0 to everybody would be an easier lethal, but I think this also works. 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage to them here. Yeah, this should also work. I'm just going to let all this damage through. If they're not going to change the amount of damage here, that's fine. We just lethal them with Burst Lightning. Cool. That way they don't you get an opportunity to play some kind of combat trick that would change that. Burst Lightning MVP. All right, once again, playing a little sloppy in the brand new format here. I think I was just shook from that 3 mana 4/2 Flash Wolf with my Firebrand, so I'm just sitting here like, just hold it. Just hold it. Don't let it die. We can get value out of the 1 ping damage. We should have just been hitting them with Firebrand. They would have been at like 2 less life there. It would have been easier to find lethal. We would have had probably more draws that would have gotten there, so a little bit loose gameplay again, but Burst Lightning continuing to be insane. Just finishing our opponent off for that 4 damage to the face there, and we are 5-2. Very positive record here, but still 1 win away from being completely in the money. Sealed events are pretty expensive. They're 2,000 gems or a lot of gold. I don't remember the gold amounts, and you don't get your entry fee worth of gems back unless you get 6 wins. The reason being is that no matter what happens in sealed, you open a lot of packs, so you're expanding your collection no matter what. If you're somebody who needs to get a lot of these cards for standard and stuff, then sealed is more consistently adding a lot of cards to your collection because you're getting 9 packs every time. The 6 packs you're building with and the 3 prize packs, as you can see, at 0 wins, you still get 3 prize packs. At 7 wins, you still get 3 prize packs. So the gem payout in sealed is a little worse because the pack payout is very consistently high. So we do need to get a 6th win to get all of our gems back here. That's what that whole spiel is about. So we're trying to get our 6th win. Fingers crossed. We get 6 wins on the first run. I'm super happy with that. That's enough to go infinite. But let's see. We're only 1 loss from out of it. So anything goes here. We are 5-2 heading into round 8. This hand looks very strong. Particularly like the Whelp with the armor. The Whelp damaging our opponent when I play the armor. It's pretty cool. Dwynen's Elite, the saddest elite. Elite with no elves on board. Alright, we hold up the instance here. We can commando or Abrade. That's part of the power of having just a flash creature like Cathar Commando. Even if we don't like flash it out for a surprise block or anything, it gives us the ability to hold up an instant speed removal spell like Abrade, but still play a creature for the turn if we don't need to do it. And if they play an Elvish Archdruid with another elf on board, I'm going to use the Abrade. Alright, here's the Whelp. So that was about to be 2 mana on their next turn. They'd have 6 mana up right now. Spooky. No blocks. We're down to 17. Show me what you got here. We'll hold up the Celestial Armor during combat, so if that random wolf has reach or something and I forgot, then I can still Celestial Armor. But then we're going to be mana efficient here. We're going to go for 2 2-drops instead of 1 3-drop. This card's going to be a really fun one to build with in Constructed. Maybe even in Draft, trying to get multiple copies throughout the draft could be fun. Well, that is very fine. But in our deck, what I was about to say is in our deck, it's funny because it's literally just a 2-mana 2/2, which just looks scarier than a 2-mana 2/2. So sometimes it draws an Abrade when that Abrade would have been better spent on Firespitter Whelp. So random extra value from the Heir Apparent for just looking scary. Sunblessed Healer. I guess if they don't block, we'll do that. Actually, even if they do block, I think then we just let that resolve and we don't Celestial Armor at that point. This card is AA+. This was a big reason I was so excited about white. We had tons of like 2 mana and 1 mana creatures and 2 copies of this. This card is a really, really good 4 mana play. Okay, now that I got 3 power lifelink on board, I have more creatures than my opponent, and I have extra damage tricks. I'm not going to declare any blocks here. We've got the 6 mana up to play both of these tricks. That is an all-out attack if I've ever seen one. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Kill both the creatures. Can hit them for 11 here and kill both their creatures, or I can just Celestial Armor the Hare and kill both their creatures, hit for 5 still. Keep the Goblin Surprise. I think I'm just going to keep the Goblin Surprise. This is still very good. I suppose if they cast their own Giant Growth or something, we might have to cast our Goblin Surprise. Yeah. That's probably worth it then. Kill the borders instead of not killing it. They're down to 2. Oh shoot, I could have lethaled them. I forgot about the Whelp triggers. I gotta be calculating those Whelp triggers. Because of double Whelp trigger, if we stack the +2 from that flying damage over onto one of the non-blocked creatures, plus the Goblin bordered +2/+0 thingy, we would have just hit them to 0. But I wasn't thinking about the Whelp triggers for the extra damage. I was just thinking about the pure amount of power on board. A little anticlimactic there, just a really good hand against a weaker hand from our opponent, but we have done it. We are in the money here. We get all of our gems back out of the events and these bonus 3 packs for free. So basically, we spent nothing to play a bunch of sealed and get 9 packs into our collection. The 6 we've already opened and 3 more. That is when you get an excellent deal out of these sealed events, so I'm really happy with that. And if I knew the set a little better and we didn't make some of those earlier misplays, like attacking into the 4-2, the turn that I just forgot to play Cathar Commando, it's possible we would have just had a 7-win run already. Oh. Yeah, I'll play the Heir Apparent here. I'll play the higher toughness card over holding up Cathar Commando. I have no other instance to hold up right now. Next turn, I'm just going to pick up whatever. No, Blood Thief with a Healer's Hawk? That's quite gross. I think I need to hold up Cathar Commando then, rather than going for the pick treasures. Double Sunblessed Healer is going to be filthy this game, because at this rate, it looks like we're definitely trading creatures off. I'll try to trade Healer's Hawk for Healer's Hawk and Cathar Commando for Blood Thief. Now is my chance to make up for past mistakes here and actually flash in the Cathar Commando to block with. It's going to be really important this game that I actually do that. So let them declare the attack first. And then if they do, we flash in the Commando. I mean, we flash in the Commando no matter what. We need to be mana efficient right now. But especially if they attack in, we flash in the Commando. Now they could have 1 mana removal. They do the stab on Commando here. We're a little sad about that. But if they have combat tricks here, it's probably just 1 trick where this plays fine. We still kill one of the 2 important creatures our opponent has. And then Sunblessed Healer gets us back in the game here. Ooh. A permanent +1/+1 counter on the flyer is kind of a big deal. But now I can healer back my Healer's Hawk. Kind of a flavor win there. Sunblessed Healer's bringing back the Healer's Hawk. And we can Gold Vein pick it up so that they trade. They're equal size. Oh my god. We have Goblin Surprise Dauntless Veteran coming up? Oh my god. I almost think I don't do Gold Vein pick things right now then. What happens if they have another one of these? Oh, it doesn't untap. Okay, it doesn't untap them, so we just slam. Destroy a tapped creature. Okay, goodbye, 3/1. If I Sunblessed Healer my Sunblessed Healer? Yeah, at this rate, with Veteran Goblin Surprise... Just go big. Well, go wide, I guess is more accurate. 2 different ways to buff the whole board. Man, there's so much life gain in this format. This is gonna be quite the battle here with us just chipping right off each other. Both staying at like 20 life the whole time. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty annoying. Definitely just play the Dauntless Veteran here, I think. Which means slamming like this. Now we're back to 22, but then they're gonna steal that life right back. This is goofy. Yeah, I mean, my damage output can get pretty absurd, but with the amount of lifelink running around, I don't know that it gets close to lethal anytime soon. If there was like a stat tracker where we could see how much life was gained and lost throughout this game, it'd be so much. Sure, I'll get a 1-1. Losing the +1/+1 to everybody's a little bit of a bummer, but the fact that it's a removal spell that still gives me a 1/1 is pretty fine. So let's see exactly what it is here. We have 4 + 6, 10, 11. 11 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 2. 21? 11 plus 10 is 21. Goblin surprise? Surprise goblins? 7-win run, let's go. Trophied our first sealed event of MTG Foundations. We will take it. Very surprising ending to that game. I didn't even think that was going to get lethal because the amount of life gain running around. I'm like, they're still at like 20 here. There's no way this is lethal. Sure is, and it's specifically thanks to the fact that their removal token left behind a 1/1. If it was like any other removal in their deck, we would have hit them for like 20 there, and then they're still in the game. It would probably still be the right play. Put them really low, force them into some rough decisions with those blockers. I mean, maybe not, because imagine we put them to 1 life and they just hold these up as blockers. They're at so much life at that point. Then they're at essentially 6, and they can block 2 of our creatures. So they would just block that hawk, block that. They'd be at 6, taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they'd just be eating our things without even trading, at least here. Yeah, really, really lucky how those numbers matched up in the very end of that game. The stroke of midnight was a stroke of luck for us, getting the 1/1 token, and we have a full trophy run this time around, getting the max prize out from our first MTG Foundations sealed events. What do we want to say about the format? What do we learn here? There's a lot of flash creatures that I wasn't expecting. Cathar Commando I already knew about, but there were a lot of Cathar Commandos getting cast, obviously mostly by me. But the 3-mana 4/2 flash creature out of green, that was one to keep your eye on. If your opponent has 3 mana up in a green deck, they could have that at common, so maybe don't attack in with your 1 power creature like Fanatical Firebrand. We got by that pretty bad. There was a lot of life gain. White has just been really, really consistent at gaining life in this format. Every white deck we saw had some amount of life gain in the deck. Some of them even had a Johnny's Pridemates and stuff, buffing that stuff up. So there's tons of life gain in the formats. And I think that's it for like general format learnings. When it comes to overperformers and underperformers for this deck, I would say I already thought Sunblessed Healer was going to be a great card, but this card was absolutely fantastic. Definitely an overperformer. I think this is an incredibly high pick in draft, and obviously you're just happy to pull it in sealed. It's something that should probably draw you into white as a color. And Goblin Surprise as well. This was one of the cards I think I was considering maybe swapping around, maybe trading a Goblin Surprise for like a banner or something to buff all of our white creatures or buff all of our red creatures or something. But this was really nice. The flexibility on it, so if you do have like 2 copies in your hand, being able to make 2 goblins and then have the other copy buff all the goblins, or if you have like a Dauntless Veteran on board, being able to make the 2/1/1 goblins to get buffed by that is also good. So love that flexibility on the card. And then of course the +2/+0 part is definitely a finisher in a deck that has a really quick curve like this. So I think this is a really nice card for really aggressive decks, so that was an overperformer as well. But as for the best cards in the deck, Burst Lightning was absurd, but we already knew that. As were our rares. Our rares were quite good, but we already knew that. They're rares. They're going to be great. So, yeah, Goblin Surprise, maybe not like the best card in the deck, but certainly the most surprising one, pun intended, in terms of how good it was pretty consistently. Again, Burst Lightning, Sunblessed Healer, Celestial Armor, Kellen, those cards were all fantastic as well. But I already expected them to all be at least pretty good, so... All right, that's just going to do it. That is a 7-win run for our very first sealed events of MTG Foundations. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for helping to support the channel, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for some more MTG Foundations.